May I remind the captain, the starship enters the zone. Now entering the neutral zone.
Ever go back home and really enjoy mom's mashed potatoes and cornbread for the first time in a long time? Well, that's how I felt after watching this last episode called New Eden on Star Trek Discovery. Hello, my name is John. I'm afraid Josh is not with us again today, but he sends his hellos to everybody and will be joining us again soon. Episode 2, it was very much to me going back to the old school original series episodes. There's a problem, there's a mystery, we've found humans out in the Beta Quadrant, and we've got to take an away team down and figure out what's going on. And by the way, hide those phasers. That's just classic Star Trek. For those of you who have been a little bit concerned about the show or having problems with it, if you didn't like this episode, then I think you just need to move on to something else. This was a great episode. It was based in all the traditions of Star Trek. We saw the character development within the crew a little bit more. We got to see the away team. I hope I pronounced it properly, but Lieutenant Okashuka, I believe is how her name's pronounced. She's only said it once, so that's the only time I think I got it on there. But she was part of the away team and had a nice little role in there, and I'm enjoying seeing that because, again, the original series had Chekhov and Sulu beaming down with Kirk and Spock. And of course, when you have a ship of 400 people, it's always the same 5 people, and 2 of them are red shirts and get killed every time. But that's Star Trek, and that was fun to see. Other characters that I thought were very good. Saru continues to impress me. He's almost like the father of the ship. They have written him in as almost the sage of the ship, who comes up with these great moments where he, encourages Tilly and shares his own experience. And I originally wasn't a huge Saru fan, but I am now. Great character. Tilly, a good example of somebody I was not a fan of at first. I kept thinking, why is this intimidated, kind of odd girl on a Section 31 ship? But as time has gone on, we've realized she's some type of genius, and she's really good. And like a lot of people who are very smart, very quick to respond and have that kind of a gift set, Tilly is somebody who's also despite the fact she's got all these great things going on for her, she's lacks the self-confidence and giggles, and she's endeared me to the character quite a bit. But I will say they're kind of putting her in a little too much, in my opinion. If this was a recipe for chili, you're putting too much beans in there or something. I don't know. I suspect, and for those of you who don't know, I have a television background, but what's probably happening is focus groups have happened with CBS, and those executives go to Alex Kurtzman and the showrunners and say, our focus group show that Tilly's really good. Please have 5 minutes of Tilly in every episode. That's how, unfortunately, television works. So that could be part of the reason you're seeing a lot of Tilly here in the first couple of episodes. But otherwise, like seeing her, I just think they're just using her a little too much. But the big thing you saw in this episode was Pike. Pike and Burnham, and very much developing this Kirk and Spock type relationship. Now, it's interesting since Burnham is the science officer versus Saru, who I would assume would be co-captain or number one. They haven't really established that Pike seems to spend a lot of time with her. I suspect this is going to be because Spock and Pike were close on the Enterprise, and he's kind of taking that relationship as well with Discovery. But I really enjoyed seeing the new Ready Room, decorated in a way we've never seen any Ready Room done, with that Mojave kind of Western look. That's the area of the country he's supposed to be from. Really enjoyed hearing about his father. We never had seen that backstory before, that he was a religion philosophy guy. So you find out that Pike has a very full and rich, much like Picard with archaeology, that Pike has very much studied religion and understands that section of humanity. And I think that's great. I applaud the Star Trek writers for approaching it, because for years, and I'll just be very transparent, I'm a Christian. I've been part of church all my life, and Star Trek has typically weaved itself around, especially in the newer series spin-offs. They've avoided it, or they have kind of downplayed it as just something not that important. I really liked what they did with this episode, because they did show through Pike that he believes religion is an important thing and that we shouldn't just write it off. Burnham, of course, playing the Spock, saying that it is, in fact, science, and she kind of poo-poos it a little bit, but you can see, because she is going through this moment with the Red Angel, that it's beginning to make her question her faith. And again, I think that's great, and you might say, well, that's a ripoff of Spock. No, that's not a ripoff of anything. Everyone, I believe, in life goes through a period of time where they question, as Spock said in Star Trek The Motion Picture, who is God and what is my purpose here? So I think that's a very Star Trek thing to get into, and I appreciate the writers not dodging it and going into it kind of in a unique way and saying, hey, religion is important. So that whole part with Pike was very important. The next thing about Pike that was very important that you got to see, and this was classic old Star Trek, was Pike's response to General Order 1. Now, General Order 1, if you don't know, is the Prime Directive. And let me give you some background in case you're a lot younger than me and don't understand how that came about in the original Star Trek. So obviously, the original Star Trek was in the 1960s during Vietnam, and there was a very strong belief in the culture at that point that America should not be involved in that culture, in that war, changing that country in Vietnam. So that's where the Prime Directive concept kind of came out of. It was, again, a reflection of what was going on in current culture. So it was kind of great to see that. We haven't seen a whole lot of the Prime Directive at all with Discovery. They've kind of wrecked it in some cases. But to see Pike kind of hold on to that really tight, that was really good. So let me go back to a couple of things on this. So it looks like that we are going to be seeing Spock and Pike for several episodes. We know Stamets is having issues. Didn't get into that too much in episode 2. We know Tilly is seeing dead people. That's going to be interesting how they unwind that, and is that all part of the Red Angel? The Red Angel is obviously, and we should have taken the cue from the opening sequence, having the Red Angel in there, is going to be a major part of this show this year, of the story arc. We're also supposed to see a saucer separation of Discovery, and massive destruction, and Saru almost being dead. At least it looks like it from one of the trailers. So there's a lot that they have not even unpacked yet on this show, and it all looks spectacular. A couple of things I want to throw out, and I had some time to think about this, for those of you who, and I was one of them, who said, I don't get what happened with the Enterprise last week in the premiere, where they did the whole thing where Pike said, the Enterprise has basically been trashed, it doesn't work, they're towing it back to space dock, but yet all the lights were on and the nacelles were lit up. I don't have an engineering explanation for that, but I do have possibly a production writing explanation. I do believe, and for those of you who watched season 1, they just train wrecked the last part of that season. It was they kind of, once they got through with the Terran universe, it just kind of became a hot mess. And I think somewhere along the line, Alex Kurtzman got in there and said, throw in a shot of the Enterprise at the end of the season. We're going to do something with Pike and Spock. Just throw something in and we'll figure it out later. And I have a feeling they didn't want to make everybody mad and have the Enterprise come strolling in with smoke and sparks coming out of it. I think they wanted to have that beauty shot of the Enterprise at the end of season 1. And then the problem became when they started writing season 2, they figured out, well, the best way for us to do this is to say the Enterprise has been damaged or something. So that's my theory. I think, and it'll be proven if we get into seeing the Enterprise here in an episode or two, and it looks like it's under more duress than what it was in that earlier episode. So we'll see if my theory has been true. So far, pretty much I'm batting 0 here because most of my most of my predictions have been wrong. But like I say, here's the test I say every week. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. We've been getting a lot of very generous comments from people saying that you folks appreciate some of the commentary I've got, and Josh as well, and I would appreciate you sharing that with other people. We would like to see this podcast become much larger so that I can bring Jonathan Frakes on and ask him a ton of questions about directing Discovery. So until next week with episode 3, I wish you a good week.